The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was full of worried voices. Representatives from hundreds of worlds sat in their floating chairs, all talking at once. The air smelled like fear and desperation. Ambassador Kang Daeho from Earth sat quietly in the human section, watching the chaos unfold. At the center of the hall, a giant screen showed images that made even the bravest aliens look away. The pictures showed twisted space where stars bent like rubber bands. Ships that had been turned inside out floated dead in the darkness. Reality itself seemed broken in that cursed place they called the Void Sector. Council Prime Veltar, a tall blue creature with too many eyes, raised his hand for silence. His voice boomed across the hall through the translation devices everyone wore. "Friends, we face our darkest hour," Veltar said. His many eyes looked tired and old. "The Nexus core has been lost in the Void Sector for 3 months now. Without it, the dying stars in the Kepler system will explode. Billions will die." Daeho leaned forward in his chair. He had read the reports about the Nexus core. It was an ancient machine that could fix dying stars and make them burn bright again. The device was older than most civilizations and more valuable than entire planets. "The Alteran Empire tried first," Veltar continued. On the screen, images showed the proud crystal beings who had ruled space for 10,000 years. Their best ship, the Diamond Sword, sent one message before it was destroyed. The pilot said reality was eating his ship from the inside. The Alteran ambassador, a being that looked like living glass, spoke with a voice like breaking bells. "We will not send more of our people to die in that cursed place. The Void Sector is not meant for any living being to enter." Murmurs of agreement filled the hall. Daeho noticed how the other aliens nodded their heads, or whatever they had instead of heads. "The Corvan Dominion also tried," Veltar said. New images appeared showing the warrior race that had never lost a battle in 1,000 years. Their ships were built like weapons, covered in armor and guns. 3 of their battle cruisers entered the void. Only 1 came back, and the crew had aged 50 years in 2 days. The Corvan general stood up. He was 8 feet tall with 4 arms and scars covering his gray skin. "My warriors fear nothing in this galaxy," he growled. "But that place is not part of this galaxy. It belongs to nightmares and madness. We will not throw away more lives." More voices joined in agreement. Daeho watched as species after species explained why they could not help. The Vegan Collective, masters of technology that seemed like magic, showed recordings of their quantum computers, going insane just from calculating the Void Sector's position. "Our machines cannot understand what exists in that place," the Vegan representative said through its robot body. "How can we send living beings where our greatest computers fear to think?" The Zephyrian Confederacy had tried sending unmanned probes. The probes came back, but they brought something with them. Something that made reality glitch and stutter around their homeworlds until they destroyed the probes. "We barely saved our colonies," the Zephyrian delegate whispered. "That place infects everything it touches." Hours passed as more species shared their failures. The Void Sector had defeated them all. It was a place where the normal rules of space and time did not work. Ships could age backwards or forwards. Gravity could flow in any direction it wanted. Colors that had no names hurt the minds of anyone who saw them. Daeho listened to it all with growing interest. To him, it sounded like the biggest puzzle the galaxy had ever seen. While other species talked about impossibility and certain death, he heard opportunity and challenge. Finally, Veltar turned his tired eyes toward the human section. "Earth's representative," he said slowly. "We come to you not because we believe you can succeed, but because we have no other choice. Humanity is young among the stars. You have been part of our council for only 50 years. We understand if you must refuse this mission as all others have." The hall fell silent. Hundreds of alien eyes focused on Daeho as he stood up. He was not tall or impressive compared to the other species. Humans looked weak next to the armored Corvans or the crystal Alterans, but Daeho smiled as he looked around the room. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," Daeho said in his calm voice. The translation devices carried his words to every corner of the hall. "You want us to fly into unstable space where reality does not work properly. We need to dodge reality storms and navigate around gravitational problems. Then we retrieve an ancient machine from a dead space station." Veltar nodded sadly. "That is correct." "And every other species in this room has said no?" Daeho asked. More nodding from around the hall. Some aliens looked ashamed. Others looked relieved that they did not have to try again. Daeho's smile grew bigger. "And this is supposed to be impossible?" "The most impossible mission in galactic history," Veltar confirmed. The human ambassador laughed. It was a sound that made many aliens jump in surprise. Humans were the only species that made that noise when they were happy. Is that it? Daiho said, still laughing. You make it sound like something difficult. Hell, that sounds like a normal Tuesday for us. The hall erupted in shocked voices. Aliens turned to each other, trying to understand what the human had just said. Feltar's many eyes widened in disbelief. You accept the mission? Feltar asked. Of course we accept, Daiho said. This is exactly the kind of thing humans love to do. Impossible odds, dangerous situations, everyone else saying it cannot be done. You just described our favorite hobby. The Corvan general stood up again. Human, do you not understand? This mission will kill everyone who attempts it. Daiho shrugged. Maybe, but maybe not. The only way to find out is to try. Besides, you said billions of people will die if we do nothing. Those seem like good odds to me. Good odds? The Alteran ambassador asked in confusion. Sure, Daiho replied. Either we save billions of lives or we die trying to save billions of lives. Both of those sound better than doing nothing. Veltar stared at the human for a long moment. You are serious, deadly serious, Daiho confirmed. When do we leave? Captain Park Jinwoo stood in the hangar bay of Earth Station 7, looking at his ship with pride. The Perseverance was not the biggest or fanciest ship in the human fleet, but it was tough. It had survived asteroid storms, plasma battles, and that one time when the gravity generator broke and everyone had to work upside down for 3 weeks. The message from Earth Command had been simple. Pick your best crew. Go to the Void Sector. Bring back the Nexus Core. Try not to die. Jinwoo had read it twice and then started making his crew list. Captain, called a voice from across the hangar. Navigator Lee So-min walked toward him with her usual confident stride. Her dark hair was tied back in a practical ponytail, and her uniform had the kind of wear marks that came from real work, not desk duty. So-min, Jinwoo said with a smile. I was hoping you would say yes. Are you kidding? So-min replied. When was the last time someone offered me a chance to navigate through impossible space? This is going to be the best puzzle I have ever solved. So-min had learned to navigate by flying cargo ships through asteroid fields. She did not trust computers to tell her where to go. Instead, she used what she called her gut feeling and a natural sense for how space moved and flowed. Other navigators called her crazy. Her perfect safety record called her right. Heavy footsteps announced the arrival of Chief Engineer Kim Tae-sung. He was a big man with permanently dirty hands and a tool belt that contained things most engineers had never seen. His last ship had been held together with spare parts and stubborn determination for 6 months after a pirate attack. Captain, Tae-sung said, wiping grease from his hands, I have been reading about this void sector place. Space that does not follow the rules. Gravity that flows sideways, reality that changes every few minutes. Sounds like my kind of engineering challenge. Think you can keep the ship working in there? Jinwoo asked. Tae-sung grinned. I once kept a ship flying after the main engine was replaced by a very angry space squid. I can handle some broken physics. The next person to arrive was weapons specialist Choi Hee-jin. She was small but dangerous, the kind of person who looked at antimatter warheads and wondered if she could make them more explosive. Her military record was mostly classified, but the parts that were not made interesting reading. Jinwoo, Hee-jin said, giving him a casual salute. I hear we are going somewhere that normal weapons do not work properly. That is what the reports say, Jinwoo confirmed. Good, Hee-jin replied. I was getting bored with normal weapons anyway. I have been working on some ideas that might be useful in unstable reality. Jinwoo did not ask what kind of ideas. With Hye-jin, it was usually better not to know until you needed to. Dr. Yoon Sang-wook arrived next, carrying a bag full of scientific equipment and looking excited. He was the kind of scientist who studied the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy because he thought they were interesting. His office was full of things that could kill him in creative ways. Captain, Sang-wook said, his eyes bright with curiosity. The energy readings from the void sector suggest there might be forms of life that exist in multiple dimensions at once. I have never seen anything like it. Are they dangerous? Jinwoo asked. Probably, Sang-wook replied cheerfully, but they might also be fascinating. I have brought extra scanning equipment and some very strong coffee. The last member of the crew was pilot Han Mi-young. She flew shuttles and fighters like other people walked. In her spare time, she raced modified ships through asteroid fields for fun. Her personal fighter had modifications that were definitely not regulation approved. Captain Park, Mi Young said, jogging up to the group. I just finished reading the mission briefing. We are really going to fly through space where the laws of physics take coffee breaks? That is the plan, Jinwoo said. Mi Young's face lit up with excitement. This is going to be the best flight of my life. While his crew gathered their equipment, Jinwoo received a visit from the Galactic Council's technical advisors. 3 different alien species arrived with datapads full of warnings and restrictions. The first advisor was a vegan robot that projected holographic charts showing the dangers of the void sector. Captain Park, it said in its mechanical voice, our analysis shows 17 different ways your ship will be destroyed in the first hour. Only 17? So-min asked, looking at the charts. I count at least 23. The second advisor was an Alteran crystal being that glowed with worry. The reality distortions will turn your ship inside out, it warned. Your crew will experience temporal displacement, dimensional shifting, and psychological breakdown. Sounds like last Tuesday, Taesung commented while checking his tools. The third advisor was a Zephyrian whose tentacles writhed with anxiety. The gravitational anomalies alone will crush your vessel into a singularity smaller than an atom. That would be inconvenient, Yejin agreed, but not necessarily fatal if we plan for it. The advisors stared at the humans in amazement. Every other species had spent weeks preparing mental exercises and spiritual rituals for missions far less dangerous. The humans were treating the most impossible journey in galactic history like a camping trip. Do you not understand the dangers? The vegan robot asked. We understand them perfectly, Jinwoo replied. That is why we brought the right people for the job. But the psychological stress alone will be handled by having really good coffee and Mi Young's music collection, Jinwoo interrupted. Trust me, we have been in tight spots before. The Alteran advisor's glow dimmed with confusion. Other species require months of preparation for missions in normal space. How are you ready in 2 days? We are not ready, So-min said with a shrug. But we never are. That is half the fun. The fun? The Zephyrian advisor whispered. Sure, Hyjin said while loading ammunition that did not technically exist yet. Where else are you going to get a chance to shoot at reality storms? The advisors gave up and left, muttering in their native languages about the madness of humans. Jinwoo watched them go with amusement. Captain, Sang-wook said, looking up from his scientific equipment. I have been thinking about the energy beings that might exist in the void sector. What about them? Well, if they have been trapped in unstable reality for centuries, they are probably very confused and possibly hostile. But they might also be lonely. Your point? Sang-wook smiled. Maybe they just need someone to talk to them who is not afraid. Taesung looked up from the engine modifications he was making. Are you suggesting we try to make friends with interdimensional energy creatures? Why not? Sang-wook replied. Humans are good at making friends with things other species consider dangerous. That is true, Mi Young agreed. Remember when we made friends with those space whales everyone said were monsters? Or the time we taught those crystal spiders to play music, So-min added. Jinwoo nodded. It was true. Humans had a gift for finding common ground with the strangest creatures in the galaxy. Maybe that skill would be useful in the void sector. As the Perseverance prepared for launch, word spread through the station about the impossible mission. Other crews came to watch, some to wish them luck, others to see the humans who were crazy enough to try what everyone else had refused. 30 minutes to departure, announced the station computer. Jinwoo looked at his crew. They were loading supplies, checking equipment, and arguing about who got to bring what music for the journey. No meditation, no prayers, no solemn ceremonies. Just humans being human. Everyone ready? He asked. Ready as we will ever be, they replied almost in unison. Then let us go save the galaxy. The Perseverance crossed the boundary into the void sector at exactly 1432 ship time. Reality immediately decided to have a breakdown. Well, that is new, So-min said from the navigation station as her instruments started showing impossible readings. According to her scanners, they were simultaneously moving forward, backward, and in 7 directions that did not have names. Captain Jinwoo watched his crew work as the universe around them went crazy. The view screen showed space that looked like someone had broken it and put it back together wrong. Stars were square. Darkness had colors. A nebula in the distance appeared to be having an argument with itself. "Tae-sung, how are the engines?" Jinwoo called to the engineering station. "Running perfectly, Captain," Tae-sung replied, not looking up from his console, which is weird because according to these readings, they do not exist anymore. "But we are still moving?" "Oh yes, in fact, we are moving faster than light without using our faster-than-light drive." The ship seems to be enjoying the broken physics. Hyojin looked up from her weapons console with interest. "Captain, I am detecting something that might be a gravitational storm ahead. It is pulling in 3 directions at once and also pushing outward. Can we go around it?" "We could try, but it appears to be everywhere and nowhere at the same time." Somin studied her navigation charts, which were now showing routes through dimensions that mathematics said were impossible. "I think I can get us through it," she said. "The storm has a pattern even if it does not make sense." "What kind of pattern?" "Well, it gets angry every 17 seconds, but only on days that end in Y. Since today is Tuesday and Tuesday ends in Y, we need to fly through during the times when it is not angry." Jinwoo nodded as if this made perfect sense. "Do it." The Perseverance flew into the gravitational storm that should not exist. Reality grabbed the ship and tried to turn it into a 2-dimensional drawing. The crew felt themselves becoming flat, then round, then shaped like concepts instead of people. "This is very interesting," Dr. Sang-wook said, somehow managing to take scientific readings while his body was temporarily a mathematical equation. "I appear to be the square root of curiosity right now." "I am the color of stubbornness," Tae-sung reported. "But my tools still work, so I am not complaining." Pilot Mi-young was flying the ship while existing as the sound of determination. "Navigation is weird when you are an abstract concept, but I think I'm getting the hang of it." The storm lasted for 3 minutes and 47 years, depending on which dimension you asked. When it ended, the crew found themselves back to normal human shape, though Hyejin's hair was now a shade of blue that did not exist in regular space. "Status report," Jinwoo called out. "All systems functional," Tae-sung said, though the coffee maker is now producing coffee that tastes like the memory of coffee. "Is it good coffee?" "The best memory of coffee I've ever had." They flew deeper into the void sector where space became even stranger. Time moved in circles. Gravity decided it preferred to flow upward. The ship's computer started having philosophical discussions with itself about the nature of existence. "Captain," So-min said, "I am picking up the distress signal from the lost station. It is coming from directly ahead, directly behind, and from last Thursday. Which signal should we follow?" "I recommend the one from last Thursday. It has the best grammar." As they followed the signal through twisted space-time, they encountered their first reality storm. It looked like angry purple lightning that had learned to hate physics. The storm reached out toward their ship with tendrils of concentrated impossibility. "Evasive maneuvers," Jinwoo ordered. Mi-young spun the ship through dimensions that hurt to think about. The reality storm chased them, screaming in mathematics that made everyone's ears ring. "It is gaining on us," Hyejin reported. "Should I try shooting at it?" "Can you shoot at a storm made of broken reality?" "Only one way to find out." Hyejin fired a plasma bolt at the reality storm. The bolt hit the storm and turned into a confused philosophy student, asking questions about the meaning of existence. The storm stopped chasing them to have a deep conversation with the philosophical plasma. "Well, that worked," Jinwoo said. "Everything works in here," Tae-sung observed. "The trick is figuring out how it works." They passed through a region where space had decided to take a vacation. Instead of empty void, there was a white room with a single chair and a sign that said, "Space will return in 5 minutes. Please wait here." They waited. Space came back, apologized for the inconvenience, and offered them complimentary snacks. "I like this place," Mi-young said, accepting a snack that tasted like speed and adventure. Dr. Sang-wook was having the time of his life. His scientific instruments were detecting forms of matter that should not exist. Energy patterns that spelled out poetry in languages nobody had invented yet, and life forms made of pure curiosity. "Captain, I am reading biological signatures ahead," he reported. "They appear to be made of living questions. Are they hostile?" "They are asking us very politely if we know the answer to the meaning of life, the universe, and everything." "What did you tell them?" 42. "They seem satisfied with that answer, and are offering to guide us through the next nebula." The living questions led them through a nebula made of crystallized music. The Perseverance flew between notes that had become solid, while melodies from 1,000 worlds played around them. Hee-jin discovered that her weapons now fired in harmony with the cosmic symphony. "This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen," So-min said as they sailed past a star that sang opera. "It is certainly the most musical," Jinwoo agreed. They were halfway through the void sector when they encountered the temporal whirlpool. It was a spinning storm of time itself where past and future collided and created sparks of maybe. "I can navigate around it," So-min said, "but it will add 3 days to our journey, or possibly subtract 17 years. "What happens if we go through it?" Jinwoo asked. "We meet ourselves from next week, have a brief conversation about the weather, and arrive at our destination before we left." "Sounds efficient. Take us through." The temporal whirlpool grabbed the Perseverance and spun it through time like a washing machine. The crew met their future selves, who waved cheerfully and shouted advice about avoiding the purple lightning next Tuesday. Their past selves were there too, looking confused but optimistic. "Did we succeed?" Past Jinwoo asked. "Spoilers," future Hee-jin replied with a wink. When they emerged from the whirlpool, they were exactly where they needed to be, 3 minutes before they had entered it. So-min marked their current location as a place to avoid next Thursday. "There," Dr. Sang-wook said, pointing at his scanner. "The ancient station, it is." Oh my. On the main screen, they could see their destination. The station existed in 17 dimensions at once, phasing in and out of reality like a cosmic strobe light. Sometimes it looked new and shiny. Sometimes it was ancient ruins. Sometimes it was a blueprint drawn in starlight. "How do we dock with something that keeps changing what it is?" Ma Young asked. "Carefully," Jinwoo replied. Taesung studied the station's impossible architecture. "I think I understand the pattern. It cycles through different states of existence every 37 seconds. We need to time our approach for when it is in its most solid phase. Can you modify our docking system to work with unstable reality?" "I have been modifying our docking system since we entered this sector. It now works in dimensions that do not technically exist." "Good enough for me." As they approached the station, reality around them became even more unstable. The ship's instruments showed that they were docking, not docking, and having an existential crisis about the nature of docking all at the same time. "Docking clamps engaged," Mi-young reported. "Sort of, we are definitely attached to something." "Airlock sealed," Taesung added. "The air on the other side is breathable, assuming we still need to breathe." "Weapons ready," Hee-jin said, though they might fire flowers or philosophical arguments instead of plasma. "Scientific equipment calibrated for impossible readings," Dr. Sang-wook announced. Jinwoo looked at his crew. They had just navigated through the most dangerous region of space in galactic history, and they all looked like they were having the best day of their lives. "Ready to board?" he asked. "Ready, Captain," they replied together. The ancient station was like walking through a fever dream written by a mad architect. Captain Jinwoo led his team through corridors that bent in impossible directions, past rooms that were bigger on the inside than the outside, and around corners that somehow led back to where they started but 3 floors higher. "This place makes no sense," Mi-young muttered, checking her portable scanner. The device was showing readings that included negative distance and the square root of purple. "It makes perfect sense," So-min replied, studying the station's layout. "It is just using a kind of sense that we have never seen before. Look at the pattern in the wall markings. The walls were covered with symbols that seemed to shift and change when nobody was looking directly at them." Dr. Sang-wook was taking pictures, though the photos showed different symbols each time he looked at them. "The station is definitely alive," Sang-wook reported, "not in a biological sense but in terms of organized energy." "It is trying to communicate with us. What is it saying?" Jinwoo asked. "Mostly hello and please do not break anything. Also something about being very lonely." They entered a large chamber that had once been the station's main hall. It flickered between different states of existence every few seconds. Sometimes it was pristine and new, with holographic displays showing star charts from 1,000,000 years ago. Sometimes it was ancient ruins filled with dust and shadows. Sometimes it was something else entirely. "The temporal instability is centered here," Taesung observed, taking readings with his modified equipment. "This is where the station's reality anchor failed. Everything here exists in multiple time streams at once." During one of the chamber's pristine phases, they saw something moving in the corner. Energy beings made of pure light danced through the air, their forms shifting like living aurora. When the chamber switched to its ruined phase, the beings became darker, more aggressive looking. They are the same entities, Sang-wook said, watching the light creatures with fascination. But in the ruined timeline, they have been alone for so long that they have become confused and angry. Are they dangerous? Hyjin asked, keeping her hand near her weapon. In the ruined phase, yes. In the pristine phase, no. We need to time our movements to match the station's cycle. Jinwoo watched the pattern. 37 seconds of pristine station with friendly light beings. 37 seconds of ruined station with hostile energy creatures. Then 37 seconds of something else entirely, where the station existed as pure mathematics and the beings became living equations. We work in shifts, Jinwoo decided. Half the team secures the area during the safe phase. The other half provides cover during the dangerous phase. What do we do during the math phase? Mi-young asked. Try not to solve for X, Tae-sung replied. They moved deeper into the station, following the signal from the Nexus core. The device was located in the station's central chamber, a vast spherical room that defied several laws of physics and at least 3 principles of common sense. The chamber was even more unstable than the rest of the station. It cycled through dozens of different realities, each lasting only a few seconds. They saw it as a pristine laboratory, a battlefield scarred by ancient wars, a garden full of impossible flowers, a library containing books that wrote themselves, and a concert hall where the walls played symphonies of light. In the center of it all, floating in a bubble of stable space-time, was the Nexus core. It looked like a crystal sculpture made of frozen starlight, beautiful and complex beyond description, but there was a problem. It is guarded, Hyejin observed. The guard was an artificial intelligence that had been left to protect the core for millions of years. The AI appeared as a holographic figure that changed appearance with each reality shift. Sometimes it was a wise old sage. Sometimes it was a battle-worn warrior. Sometimes it was a giant robot with too many arms. But in all its forms, the AI was clearly insane. Who dares disturb my eternal vigil? The AI roared in a voice that shook the chamber. I have been guarding this core since the stars were young, and I will guard it until they die. We are here to retrieve the core, Jinwoo said calmly. The galaxy needs it to save billions of lives. Lies. Deception. Everyone who comes here wants to steal my precious core. The AI's form shifted into something that looked like an angry geometric theorem. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched reality break and reform 1,000,000 times. I will not be fooled. The AI began attacking them with weapons made of crystallized time and weaponized mathematics. Hyejin returned fire with her plasma rifle, which was now shooting rainbow-colored beams that sang opera when they hit their targets. This is not working, Jinwoo shouted over the chaos. Sang-wook, can you communicate with it? I am trying, Sang-wook replied, dodging a blast of angry calculus. But it has been alone for so long that it can no longer tell the difference between reality and its own imagination. The battle raged across multiple dimensions. Mi-young flew around the chamber using her jetpack, which had been modified by Tae-sung to work in non-Euclidean space. So-min tried to predict where the AI would attack next, though this was difficult when it existed in 17 different timelines simultaneously. Wait, Hyejin said suddenly, lowering her weapon. Tae-sung, remember what you always do when our ship's computer starts acting crazy? Tae-sung looked up from where he was hiding behind a wall made of solid music. I turn it off and on again. Exactly. Hyejin pulled out a device from her equipment pack. It looked like a normal scanner, but she had modified it with parts from her weapons kit and some inspiration from the void sector's broken physics. This might work, she said, or it might turn us all into abstract concepts. But it is worth trying. She pointed the device at the AI and activated it. A beam of structured logic hit the holographic guardian, followed by a wave of organized calm and a burst of technical common sense. The AI stopped attacking. Its form stabilized into the shape of a confused librarian. Oh, it said in a much quieter voice. Oh dear, I seem to have been having a bit of a breakdown, haven't I? Just a small one, Jinwoo said diplomatically. You have been under a lot of stress. Millions of years of isolation and unstable reality, the AI agreed. It would drive anyone mad. I am so sorry. Did I try to kill you with weaponized mathematics? Only a little bit, Hyejin replied. We have had worse. The AI looked around the chamber, seeing it clearly for the first time in ages. The core, you really do need it to save lives, don't you? Billions of them, Sang-wook confirmed, showing the AI the star charts from the Kepler system. Well then, we cannot have that, the AI said briskly. Let me just deactivate the security systems. The bubble around the Nexus core dissolved. The beautiful crystal device floated down into Tai-sung's waiting hands. As soon as he touched it, the station's reality fluctuations began to stabilize. Interesting, the AI observed. The core was actually making the temporal instability worse by trying to fix it. Like using a sledgehammer to tune a piano. Will you be all right here? Sang-wook asked. The AI smiled, its form now resembling a kindly grandfather. Oh yes. Now that the core is gone, reality should return to normal in a few days. I think I will redecorate. Maybe add some plants. As they prepared to leave, the energy beings from the main chamber approached them. In the stabilizing environment, they had returned to their original friendly forms. They want to come with us, Sang-wook reported, after listening to their light song communications. They have been trapped here for so long that they want to see the galaxy again. Can they survive outside the station? Jin-woo asked. They are made of pure energy. They can survive anywhere. They might actually be useful crew members. The light beings danced with joy when Sang-wook explained that they were welcome aboard the Perseverance. They had been lonely for millions of years, and the thought of traveling with friendly humans excited them. What can they do? Taesung asked. Well, they can exist in multiple dimensions at once, manipulate energy fields, and they know every song that has ever been sung in this part of the galaxy. Sold, Mi-young said. We can always use more music. As they made their way back to the ship, carrying the Nexus core and accompanied by their new energy being friends, Jin-woo reflected on how the mission had gone. They had succeeded where every other species had failed, not through superior technology or ancient wisdom, but by treating impossible problems as merely interesting puzzles to solve. Ready to head home? He asked his crew. Ready, Captain, they replied. The AI waved goodbye from the station's viewing port as the Perseverance prepared to depart. It had already started redecorating, turning one of the walls into a garden of mathematical flowers. Nice fellow, Sang-wook commented. A bit excitable but friendly once you get to know him. The energy beings settled into the ship's systems, where they immediately began improving efficiency and teaching the computer new songs. Taesung declared them the best crew members he had ever worked with, mostly because they could fix problems in dimensions he could not reach. Course laid in for home, So-min reported. Though with our new friends aboard, the journey should be much more interesting. She was right about that. The journey home from the Void Sector was nothing like the trip in. The Nexus core, now safely stored in the Perseverance's cargo hold, was having interesting effects on reality around them. Space-time rippled like water wherever they went, and their new energy-being crew members sang songs that made the stars dance. Captain, So-min called from the navigation station. We have a small problem. Jin-woo looked up from his coffee, which was still tasting like the memory of coffee thanks to their trip through the reality storm. How small? Well, the core is making our ship exist in 17 different dimensions at once. Also, we are being chased by space pirates who may or may not be real. Are they shooting at us? Yes, but their weapons are firing philosophical arguments instead of plasma bolts. Through the view screen, Jin-woo could see the pirate ships following them. They looked like normal pirates, except their ships kept flickering between being made of metal and being made of pure stubbornness. Hiya, Jin. Can you return fire? Already on it, Captain, Hiya Jin replied from the weapon station. My guns are now shooting concentrated logic. The pirates seem very confused by it. One of the pirate ships was hit by a beam of solid reasoning and immediately began questioning its life choices. The crew could be heard over the radio having an existential crisis about whether piracy was really the career path they wanted to pursue. This is Captain Bloodfang of the Crimson Death, came a transmission from the lead pirate ship. Surrender your cargo or we will. Wait, why are we doing this? What is the point of stealing things? Are we happy with our lives? Identity crisis incoming, Dr. Y, Sang-wook observed. The core's influence is making them think about the meaning of their existence. The second pirate ship was having similar problems. This is the Void Reaper, its captain transmitted. We demand your... Actually, have you ever noticed how beautiful the stars are? When did we stop looking at the stars and just start shooting at them? Should we help them? Mi-young asked. They did try to rob us, Taesung pointed out. Yes, but now they are having a spiritual awakening, Sang-wook replied. That seems like something we should support. Jin-woo made a decision that would have baffled other species, but made perfect sense to humans. Open a channel to all pirate ships. This is Captain Park of the Earth vessel Perseverance, he transmitted. You gentlemen seem to be going through some personal growth right now. Would you like some advice? There was a pause. Then Captain Bloodfang replied, Actually, yes. We are having some very deep thoughts about our purpose in life, and it is quite disturbing. Have you considered a career change? Jin-woo suggested. The galaxy always needs good security officers, cargo haulers, and tour guides. Tour guides? Asked the captain of the Void Reaper. Sure. You know all the best hiding spots and secret routes through dangerous space. That would be very useful for adventure tourism. The pirate ship stopped chasing them and began having a group discussion about alternative career paths. The last transmission Jin-woo heard was Captain Bloodfang saying something about starting a small business, providing guided tours of interesting nebulae. Problem solved, Hyojin announced, powering down her weapons. I love this job. The next challenge came when they encountered a temporal whirlpool that was spinning in the opposite direction from the one they had used before. Instead of sending them back in time, it was pushing them forward into possible futures. We are going to arrive home next week, Somin reported. Or possibly next century. The readings are not very clear. Can we avoid it? Jin-woo asked. Not without adding 6 months to our journey, but I have an idea. Somin worked with their energy being crew members who understood time in ways that hurt to think about. Together they figured out how to surf the temporal currents instead of being swept away by them. Hold on, Somin called. This is going to be interesting. The Perseverance caught the edge of the time whirlpool and rode it like a wave. They skipped across different timelines, seeing glimpses of possible futures where they succeeded, failed, or accidentally became interdimensional pop stars. I like the timeline where we have our own theme song, Mi-young commented, watching a future version of herself performing on stage with the energy beings as backup singers. They emerged from the temporal storm exactly when and where they needed to be, though their ship now had a faint glow that made it look heroic in any lighting. The real problems began when they reached the edge of normal space. The Nexus core was not designed to exist in a stable reality, and it was fighting against the normal laws of physics like a cat being given a bath. The core is destabilizing, Taesung reported. If we bring it into normal space, it might explode and take half the galaxy with it. Can we contain it? Jin-woo asked. I am working on it, but I might need to connect it to something that can handle impossible amounts of energy. Taesung looked around the ship, considering options. Then his eyes fell on the entertainment system. That might work, he muttered. What might work? Sang-wook asked. The entertainment system processes lots of different types of input: music, movies, games, holographic displays. If I route the core's energy through it, we might be able to tune reality like adjusting a radio frequency. That sounds completely insane, Hyojin observed. Thank you. Taesung spent 3 hours connecting the most powerful artifact in the galaxy to their ship's music system. When he was done, the entertainment console was glowing with the light of distant stars and humming with cosmic energy. Turn it on, he said. Mi-young activated the entertainment system. Instead of her usual playlist, it began playing the fundamental harmonics of the universe itself. The Nexus core settled down and started behaving like a normal piece of ancient technology instead of a reality-warping nightmare. We can control it by changing the music, Taesung explained. Classical music makes it stable, jazz makes it creative, and heavy metal makes it very excited. What happens if we play pop music? Somin asked. I do not recommend finding out. They surfed the probability waves generated by the core's interaction with their music system, riding currents of controlled chaos back to familiar space. The energy beings provided harmony, their light songs blending with the cosmic symphony to create something beautiful and impossible. When they finally arrived at Earth Station 7, they found the entire Galactic Council waiting for them. Representatives from dozens of species had gathered to witness either their triumphant return or their spectacular failure. Perseverance. This is Control, came the transmission from the station. Please confirm your status. This is Captain Park. Jinwoo replied. Mission accomplished. Nexus core retrieved, crew intact, and we made some new friends. The silence that followed lasted for several seconds. Then the communication channels exploded with voices from every species in the council. Impossible. How did you survive? The mission was rated impossible. What happened to the reality storms? Jinwoo looked at his crew, all of whom were grinning. Should I tell them? Tell them the truth, Hyejin suggested. They can handle it. Galactic Council, this is Captain Park, Jinwoo transmitted. We completed the mission by treating it like a normal job. We navigated through unstable space, made friends with the energy beings, convinced a crazy AI to give us the core, and came home. Standard Tuesday for us? Standard Tuesday? Came the incredulous voice of Council Prime Veltar. Well, maybe a slightly more interesting Tuesday than usual, Jinwoo admitted. As they docked at the station, crowds of aliens gathered to see the humans who had accomplished the impossible. The energy beings were immediately popular, as they could communicate in light songs that every species found beautiful. The Nexus core was carefully transferred to a Galactic Council ship that would take it to the Kepler system. Within days, it would be stabilizing dying stars and saving billions of lives. Ambassador Kang Daeho met them at the airlock with a smile that was visible across the docking bay. Congratulations, Captain. You have made all of humanity proud. Just doing our job, Jinwoo replied. Your job was supposed to be impossible. Jinwoo shrugged. We have always been good at impossible jobs. Word of their success spread across the galaxy faster than light. Within hours, every species in the Council was re-evaluating their understanding of what could and could not be done. The humans had not just survived the void sector, they had treated it like an interesting vacation. As news reports flooded the galactic networks, other species began to ask themselves why they had been so sure the mission was impossible. The humans had used the same basic technology available to everyone else. They had not brought secret weapons or ancient artifacts. They had simply refused to believe that impossible meant impossible. How did your people do it? Council Prime Veltar asked Jinwoo during the official debrief. Jinwoo considered the question seriously. I think it is because we do not see things the same way you do. When you told us about reality storms and temporal anomalies and impossible physics, we heard interesting puzzles to solve. When you said it was the most dangerous mission in galactic history, we heard the most exciting mission in galactic history. But were you not afraid? Of course we were afraid. Fear keeps you alive. But being afraid and doing something anyway, that is what makes life worth living. Veltar nodded slowly, beginning to understand. And the energy beings?